Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. In this video I'm going to be installing a new camshaft into the D16 Turbo D16 Civic here. I have I guess I'll give you a little rundown. I have a camshaft in this motor already. It's a regrind Delta 272-2. And it definitely does all right. I'm not really sure what the stock cam was because when I built this engine up, I put that cam in it right away, so I can't compare it to the stock cam. But it seems to be okay. One of my reasons to wanting to get rid of it is it didn't come with a cam card, and I can't really truly degree it in, just because there was no card, so I don't really know to go off of the specs. So I kind of used my butt dyno, and I have it at 2 degrees advanced, and it seems pretty good, but it really starts to fall off after 7,000, which could be because this is a Y8 head. They don't flow very well. I did do a port job on it myself. First one I've ever done on one of these, so it's not really crazy. And I also really should have did this, but didn't use a bore type gauge. I forgot what they're called, but basically to make sure all the cylinders are even, or just, yeah, pretty much that. But I did a stock job, so it's better than the stock one, especially around like the bowls and stuff like that, or behind the valves. I really opened those up pretty good. But yeah, so yeah, my reasoning wanting to do that is because it falls off after 7,000, and I believe that it might be the cam, but I also wanted to buy this cam to begin with. I just didn't have the money at the time, so now I do. I bought it and saved a little money on a sale they had. So what I'm going to be putting in is the Speed Factory D16 Street Savage camshaft. This is the cam here. And I'm also going to be putting in their new cam gear that they just came out that has in an area Allen basically that you use to adjust it as to where, like on this one, you're supposed to turn the bolt or the crankshaft. And most of the time I would just take a brass punch and bang the gear, which really isn't good because it mars the gear up. But hey, so now we're going to put this one on, but also I wanted to buy this too because this is a Z6 gear with a Z6 cam. So that would have worked, but this is much better. That is also a Skunk 2 gear, and I always have issues with doing the timing on it. That's kind of why I have this line here, and I use there's a mark on the cam gear basically, but yeah, so that was my reasoning for getting that cam gear. But I wanted to show you that you're going to need a couple parts. You basically, to put this gear on with this camshaft, you need this keyway that is for a B series cam gear, and this is the part number. This is a D16 cam seal. God, I can't use my words today. And this is the part number for the stock bolt. I was going to buy one of those fancy ones, but I figured they still offered this, and it was like $4. So it fits in the hole pretty well. So yeah, those are the part numbers for that. So I'm not going to do like a step-to-step how to take everything out. I'm going to put you guys in a time lapse. I'm going to rip everything apart, take it out. And then when it comes time to put the cam in, that's when I'm going to do a little bit of step-by-step, and then I'm going to show you the degreeing of the cam in. This will actually be my first time degreeing any camshaft. I've always, like I said, just done the butt dyno. So yeah, that'll be a little interesting experience. So let's dive in right now and put you on the time lapse, and I'll rip everything apart. was able to get everything pulled out, and I was gonna start showing you guys lubing the cam and putting it in and all that stuff, but I decided to take a look at the rocker arms, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but this edge right here, you kind of see that it's elevated ever so slightly. I think you could see it there. So that means that that's worn down, and that's where the cam first touches it. So you're really losing some lift there, and I don't really want to put a new cam in and screw it up. This one actually is perfect, but these three are messed up, and I thought that one might have been messed up, but really all the other ones look really good. No crazy wear on them. You basically just want to see if you can catch anything, but mainly really you want to look for like where the cam rides, and you know, it'll leave indentation like that. So I'm going to go to work tomorrow and see if they sell any still from Honda, which I'm pretty sure they don't, and even if they do, they're probably like $200 because you got to buy this whole thing. So probably I made a post on Facebook to see if I can try and find some from a D series group, so hopefully I can find some, because I was hoping to get this done in a day or two, but now this is gonna slow the process down. Sick. Well, I ended up being able to find a rocker assembly online on a Facebook D series group. I ended up finding one that same exact night and got it shipped out. It's about almost a week later, I think, something like that. So yeah, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to pull these apart and swap over all the VTech rockers. I was going to keep one of them, but I think these all look much better than the ones I have, even though the one that I think that is okay on mine, I probably could run it, but I'm just gonna put all these ones in. But once I pull one from the new rocker assembly and then mine out, I'll compare them so you can see how messed up they are. Alright, so on that time lapse there, I got everything pulled apart. The other rocker assembly was much harder to come apart. Mine is definitely cleaner than that one. But I cleaned up all the old VTech, or the new VTech rockers, and oiled them up and everything. Just was make sure if you're going to do something like that, the best to use would be a lint-free towel, but you can use regular rags like this. Just make sure the little fuzzies, you know, don't come off in there. But I wanted to give you guys a comparison of these rockers, as I'm pretty sure my cell phone will pick up it much better than the GoPro did. So this is a messed up one. Let's get them at the same height here. All right. It's hard to do with the way I'm holding it, but if you can see the divot on the tip of this one, that's the problem. So, yeah, pretty much just going to be the reverse process of just sliding these all in and making sure that none of the pins fall out and they're all in the right orientation. So I think I'm just going to use the power of YouTube and slap this baby back together. All right, and there it is, put all back together. I think before I put it all back together, I'm going to flip it over, and on all of the pads, I am going to put some assembly lube, even though I'm going to lube the cam up before we do that. But now we can get back to putting the cam in there. Okay, so right there I was just checking for clearance and the casting because I've heard and also seen on single cams when you put big camshafts in them that sometimes the casting in your head is a little bit oversized and you just got to shave it down a tiny bit. Number 4 was a little bit close on the intake side, but I think when you get the cam centered where it's supposed to be, it's going to be fine. So now what you want to do is lather this baby up with a bunch of good quality assembly lube. I'm going to be using Lucas. You can use pretty much whatever you want. Just make sure it's got a bunch of zinc and stuff and put a bunch of it on there. And your oil should be fresh in your engine too. I'm also going to take some new oil and pour it into the valley of the cam here, as it had older stuff. Oil that's in here isn't that old. Just want to make sure you cover the entire thing really good. Every lobe. Okay, so I'm going to take the keyway. This is the part number again. It's a B series camshaft keyway. And I said B series, not D series. And you want to put it with the smaller end going inside towards the engine, I guess you could say. So I got to put the cam seal in. Now you can take the keyway and put it in. Or drop it on the ground. Never gonna find that again. I found it. It was right next to you guys. Why didn't you tell me? Stand corrected. The big end of the swoop, I guess. So I'll just show you. It looks to be like it goes like this side of it goes towards the engine. That was the other way. And for right now, I'm just going to hand tighten the nut onto the cam gear because I'm not going to torque yet because I don't have any way to hold it, and I don't want to put anything in the holes of this cam gear to mar it up because it looks too nice. I fucked my last one up too many times doing stupid stuff like that. Alright, got it tightened up there. I always struggle with how much tension to put, but I tried to mark it with a razor blade kind of and like a mark on the block. Because I've spent many a times going back and forth, trying to see if it's too tight or too loose, and then I've actually snapped 2 Gates timing belts. I think I got one over here I can show you. Here's the last Gates belt that I broke just idling in my driveway. I literally texted my girlfriend and said I think the timing belt's too tight as I'm idling it in the driveway, and then she let go. So I don't use Gates anymore. They're strong, you just can't set them too tight, and this one was literally just a hair too tight after I just rebuilt the engine and took it apart, and it broke. But luckily this is a Viterra engine, piston engine, so the timing belt can break when you're not in VTEC and nothing happens. And that's why I like the OEMs, because they'll stretch, not break. So yeah, so I think I'm going to just rotate the engine over counterclockwise a few times and then make sure the timing marks line up, you know, because I always recommend somebody to do that, because if it's going to jump timing, it will do it right then and there. And it's good insurance to know. And I think that might wrap it up tonight, because what time is it? It's 5:12. So yeah, I probably will maybe set up my dial indicator and stuff and get ready, because tomorrow we will do the degreeing of the cam, which I watched Speed Factory's video. I probably will only need to go like 1, maybe a half a degree advance, and it should bring us in. And I'm gonna try and do it on the exhaust, not the intake, because you have to lock the VTEC. But I'm gonna fiddle around with that, and we'll probably pick this back up tomorrow when I get out of work. So we're gonna go ahead and try and torque this cam bolt. I'm gonna try and do it without having to hold the crankshaft, but I might need to jam a bolt onto the crankshaft. Put some Loctite on there. Probably put more than I needed. Okay, didn't need to hold the crankshaft, that was good. 23 foot-pounds on that also. Well, I ended up finding out that the timing that I was telling you guys is incorrect. That was for my old Skunk 2 gear for the Y8 timing, I guess, even though the Y8 wants you to set it flush with the block and not use the arrows. I actually, when I went to work today, printed off some different timing ones so I can see. So here's the Y8. Sorry, that is not a Y8. That is a Y8, and it wants you to line it up with the head. And then you look at the Z6, and it looks like you would use these arrows, but honestly what you really want to use is this pointer right there. And I didn't even realize this because this engine is a Y8, but it still has this little pointer right here. And if you look in this little 2, on the 2 right there, it has a line for it, so that's your timing mark for the cam. So I had it off a degree, 1 tooth basically, and I wanted to do a little checking on this before I send the information out, because this is my first time doing a degreeing of a cam, and I'm pretty sure I got it dialed in. The only thing that I'm worried is the full lift isn't matching, but I think I'm gonna send it and see how it does, because it's as close as I can get. So basically what you do is, I have a pointer. I have a pointer down here that I made out of some aluminum welding rod, and I lined it up with the TDC there, and just have a bolt holding it in there for now. And then I basically have a dial indicator set up and tried to get it, you get it right on the tip of the valve there, on the retainer, and you set it to 0 and make sure that it doesn't move very much, and make sure that the movement when the needle is going up and down, that it doesn't hit the rocker or anything. So I'm gonna set you up and we'll start spinning this over, and I'll show you the results that I got. So remember, we're checking this on the exhaust side, so if you wanted to do the intake, you would have to take the rocker assembly apart and lock, you know, this exhaust doesn't have VTEC, but lock the VTEC rocker to check the lift for VTEC. Or you could use air if you wanted also. Pretty sure you can check that on this somehow, but you might need a tool, and this just seems easier. It's a single cam, so if you get the exhaust side in, the intake is going to be the same because they're the same cam. So we're going to turn this over till it's at 50. The bigger the ratchet you use, the easier this is. Mine isn't that big, and it's kind of tricky, and you don't want to go back. So we're at 50 right there. And if you come down, normally you would have a degree wheel on here, but I have a ATI damper, so it makes it a little easier. And you gotta get lined up with the pointer. Let's get a focus. And when it's lined up, it is 45 there. So what you need to do with the ATI damper is start at the 180 there. I get my finger in the view. 180, and then 190 would be 10, 20, 30, 45. And then, so you would jot that down. Zoom out here. And then I'll set you back up and we'll do the other. Okay, so then we're gonna check the total lift here, which I'm getting about 387, and the lift says it's supposed to be 414, so that's the only part that I'm a little iffy on, but so there's 1, 2, 3, 87. And then you go back. 3, 2, 1, and then stop at 50. Okay, at 50. So then you come back to the wheel here, and that is about, I had 3.5 before, but that might be 4. So then you would, to get your info here, what you would do is, let's go back to the cam card here. So we got, let me get my calculator out and I'll explain this a little easier. Okay, so hopefully the GoPro picks this up. Looks like it's going to. So we had 45 plus 4 equals 49 plus another 180 equals 229, which our duration at 50 on the paperwork says 229. See if the GoPro will get that. And then you take that number and you divide it by 2, and then you minus your small number, which would be 4. So minus 4 is 110.5 center line, and the center line of the cam here is 110. So I believe that I have it degreed in properly, and one thing I didn't mention is that I have it 4 degrees retard to get that number. And I'll zoom in with my phone a little easier so you guys can see the mark on there. And to get that adjustment, basically you would loosen, when I was doing the adjustments, you only need to lock 2 of them to check it. But basically you loosen these, and then you want the engine at TDC, because the cam moves the easiest, and then you take the unlocking is a number 5, and then to move the cam is a number 6, and literally you just put this in here and move it back and forth, and it's really effortless. It moves it so nice and easy. I actually got it jammed in there on my engine mount, and luckily everything was loose, and when I was turning the engine over, I forgot to pull it out, and it cranked it over to one side. And thought I broke the damn thing already, but it seems to be okay. So yeah, I'll pull my phone out and I'll get a little close up there of the actual timing marks on the cam gear so you can see how those work, because I was a little confused when you look at the picture about, like, it looks like 10 would be a lot of movement, but it's not. And one other thing I want to notice, if you purchase this cam gear, make sure that when you put it on, because when I had first put this on, it was 10 degrees retarded, I'm pretty sure, because these were all shifted to one side. You want to make sure that this nut is pretty much in the middle, and what you would do is make sure that this is lined up with 0. With it 10 degrees advanced, this was almost lined up with 0. So you want to make sure that this bolt is pretty much in the middle, and the 0 is lined up. So I just wanted to try and get a close-up of the marks here. So if you can see, I have that lined up on the number 4, and if you would want to keep going, you would just turn it till these marks line up for 5 degrees retard, or vice versa for any of the others. The only one that's a little tricky is the 0. Like I was saying before, you want to make sure that this is kind of centered. See how it's like off to one side? It would be centered more when the 0 is lined up, and that would be your dead nut 0. I also wanted to mention, if anybody was curious, if you heard that creaking noise while I was cranking the engine over, I was really worried about that at first. Thought it was something in the head or something, but I'm pretty sure it's my twin disc, because the noise is coming from the bell housing area, basically. So I'm pretty sure it is my twin disc, and that's literally the next upgrade we're going to be doing on that. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. And one last thing before I put this back together is make sure you torque these with a drop of blue Loctite. These are all 18 foot-pounds. And also one last thing, when you are degreeing, is very important. There you have 0 lash. You basically turn this down till there's no lash. And that's how you do your adjustments. Alright, well I got everything wrapped back up here. Just gonna pour some coolant in since I replaced the radiator I haven't put in the unit. So we'll see if this thing leaks or not. But I got everything back together, got the valve lash done. I set it to was 8 on the intake and 10 on the exhaust. But they say, you know, it's basically normal specs. I think it's 7 and 9 on the intake and 9 and 11 on the exhaust, so I just go right in the middle there. I have the coil disconnected and the injector is disconnected because I'm going to crank it over for a few seconds to build a little bit of oil pressure, and then I'm going to fire it up. I'm going to put an exhaust like hose on it to vent it out the garage because it's kind of cold out there, so I don't have to open the garage all the way, so you won't really be able to hear it fully. But once it doesn't say anything in the directions about breaking the cam in for 20 minutes, but I'm going to break the cam in for 20 minutes at 2000 RPM. So I'm going to get a long screwdriver once I get it started and kind of rest it on the seat and gas pedal to try and hold it at 2000. And then once it's broken in, I'll take the exhaust off and stuff and let you guys listen to the idle. And then that should wrap this up because I'm not going to test drive in this video because I got to do one more mod before I can pull this out the garage and do I guess 2 more mods, but 1 big mod before I can pull it out and retune it and start driving it around for the year. Alright, so we're going to crank it to get some oil pressure. Alright, got some pressure. See if it starts. Well, it's been about 20 minutes-ish that I let it idle around 2000. It took me a little while to get a proper, I should say, I had a zip tie in there to get the proper size in there to get it to stay around 2000 because the screwdriver chuck wouldn't hold in my seat. But I have it idling now. I just wanted to show you what the idle quality sounds like. I also haven't set the ignition timing, so it could change slightly, but still pretty stock sounding. Pretty good stock sounding, and I believe it was the same amount of vacuum. 5 or 6, I think, is what I had before, because that's in map, not inches of vacuum. But I guess I could shut this down now. But yeah, that should wrap this portion of this video up. You know, got the cam in, got it degreed. That was pretty fun trying to figure that out, but also at the same time had my brain working there to see if I had it right, which I'm pretty sure I do. Just pretty sure that those readings for the exhaust, the after top dead center for the closing is not correct, and it's supposed to be before, but who knows. I also did find that a lot of other cam companies don't even give you those degree measurements. You basically just have to, they give you the duration and the max lift, and you just have to find your degrees from there basically to get you to the duration and the max lift, because that's what matters the most, is the duration and your max lift numbers match. So yeah, the next big project for this car, which I'm probably going to start on tomorrow after work, is going to be a twin disc clutch upgrade. Well, not upgrade, just replacement. I have a twin disc in there and I'm going to be replacing it. But the big thing is going to be putting a B series hydraulic throwout bearing on there, because I've read that these bolt right up with no issues and you just need to set the air gap, and that's it. So if you want to keep an eye out for that, just yeah, keep an eye out for that video if you want to see that. But yeah, so that should wrap everything up here. So before we go, I just want to say to you guys, if you're subscribed, appreciate you very much. And if you've made it to this far to the end of the video, or if you watch any of my videos, appreciate you very much and hope you have a good night.